This is Marquise Cotton with the Cotton Ticket Minute Sports Show. And today, our topic, we're going to do a discussion on activations at the Daytona 500. Now, to be honest, growing up as a kid, I never really followed NASCAR. Um, but I can say there were some drivers that stood out to me from different places of employment. I would see them with the different hats with the numbers on the hat and the logos and like the different, sponsorship, teams like, Jeff Gordon with DuPont. But I really, to be honest, was never a fan of NASCAR. But I had one teacher in automotive, and he was a real heavy NASCAR diehard fan, and he made us do an exercise in class, like when the fantasy, tournament leagues came out, and I got to learn about some of the different drivers in NASCAR. But the first thing I want to talk about, it says explore creative ways of sponsorships and activating leverage with their partnership. And I chose to research the sponsorship opportunities with the United States military services. And I found this article very interesting because there was a budget hearing in Congress where it was a lot of constructive criticisms on both aisles of the floor with the Democrats and the Republicans debating the amount of money that was being spent on the term that I learned is called paid patriotism. And being a student of the Constitution and knowing the history, the first word, that word patriotism, I did some research on where that stemmed from, and I found out that, the Patriots was a term that was used in the New England states during the 1700s when the 13 original colonies were going to war with England. So, patriotism is, I guess, like the term, country first or God first and God and country. So, doing my research, I found out that there were several different branches of the military who had different activations at this Daytona 500. And this Daytona 500 is, according to research and numbers, one of the biggest events, even bigger than the Super Bowl. And I always remember during the Super Bowl and after the Super Bowl always seeing commercials about the Daytona 500. But just recent after these hearings in Congress, Air Force was basically the only branch of the military that still stayed sponsoring NASCAR events. And they even have their own car. And as you can see, the team has the Air Force logo and all of that. Moving on, it says identify advantage of creative activation efforts. And this example is an airplane called the Thunderbirds. And they fly over the Daytona racetrack, like basically before like the national anthem is played. And I have been to a couple air shows, here in the DMV area at Andrews Air Force Base. And, you know, as a kid, they said, I used to watch Superman and they would say it's a bird, it's a plane, look. And I guess it's nothing like, you know, seeing aircraft flying in the air at high speeds. I guess it astonishes the crowd and gives them something to remember. So, It says demonstrate and understand the objectives, fit, and creativity. So I did some research, and it's basically saying that the demographics of NASCAR fans and the demographics of those who the military go after to recruit to get them enlist are basically identical. And even one of the activations that I noticed was they actually had an enlistment booth at the actual Daytona 500, and when you sign up to enlist, you have like a delayed time for when you have to actually report, or they even put you in the reserves. And there was one NASCAR driver that even signed up and enlisted during the Daytona 500 race. It says discuss the company's ability to leverage sponsorship of the Daytona 500 through its additional campaigns. Now, when I did some research on this, going back to the point of paid patriotism, basically the fans of NASCAR will even if they don't decide to enlist themselves, they'll recommend a friend or family to enlist and basically serve their country to, I guess, fulfill their patriotism to their country. It says articulate the understanding and importance of leveraging and activation discussing any and all pending level of discussion in the following elements. According to this article, in 2014, the Air Force spent more than $2.3 million sponsoring NASCAR events. And like I say, this is paid patriotism. And one of the senators, John McCain and Jeff Flake, both Arizona Republicans, gave heavy criticism to this. One of the points of creativity that I was able to research and pull, just recently, President Donald Trump actually attended the Daytona 500 and was actually the grand marshal of the event. And he even took a couple laps around the Daytona 500 racetrack and one of the presidential limos, and of course accompanied by Secret Service. So this is goes beyond more than paid patriotism, because can you imagine being, a child in elementary school and you see the president, you know, at this Daytona 500 race, and you see the military army band, singing, the Star Spangled Banner and the planes flying over. So these activations, they plant a seed not just to the adults who are even eligible by age to enlist, but also the children later on in life. They have this seed planted. So there's a chance when they turn 18, they might enlist into one of the branches because they, seen this act of paid patriotism at the NASCAR race. Going back to the demographics, it says the ages between 18 and 24 compared to about 12% nationwide. And it says it's no coincidence that 70% of the airmen enlisted are men, just like the same numbers dealing with NASCAR. And also, NASCAR is almost exactly of the demographics of Southern males, and it's like an ideology of patriot and military and service to the country. And one of the facts that I found astonishing was it says the NASCAR marketing to be worth 2.3 million the Air Force annually spends on the racings. The flying branch will have to recruit 200 new airmen every year, but they said it's not exactly about the numbers of recruitment. This is, paid patriotism. And another activation that I was able to research was this thing called the T-Bone cutaway car. And another activation was a simulator game. And if they won, they would get an autograph hat of Richard Petty. And they said a line for this activation will be real long, sometimes going even to the end of the event. I also posted another video about the impact and a representative explaining that the Air Force has on the NASCAR fans. And I found this discussion to be very interesting, and I learned a lot of different things that I didn't know, about different military branches sponsoring, NASCAR. Like, like I understand, I think Joe Gibbs at one time he had, like the Home Depot team, and I think Jeff Gordon was like DuPont Paint, and of course, like McDonald's, and other Fortune 500 companies like that. But with this instance of sponsorship and activations, the ROI and the numbers really, doesn't make a difference because Air Force is in it for the long run to continue to sponsor NASCAR events. This is Marquise Cotton signing out, and I look forward to continuing this discussion. Thank you.